The Stranger at the Shore. It was a peaceful Saturday afternoon on our private ranch lake, the kind of day that makes the stress of the week fade into ripples on the water. My wife, Jessica, had just returned from her overnight FBI detail in Houston and was finally relaxing. Kaya parked on the shoreline, fishing pole in hand, her ball cap pulled low over her sunglasses. To anyone else, she looked like a regular woman enjoying a well-earned break. But to me, she was the definition of composed power. I was trimming some branches by the dock when I heard a car approach. Odd, we weren't expecting guests, and our lake access was restricted by the HOA. I looked up to see a silver SUV practically screech to a halt near the edge of our gravel driveway. Out stepped a woman in her 50s, blonde bob, stiff with hairspray, lips pursed tight, and a clipboard in her hand like it was a weapon. It was Karen, the HOA vice president. She strutted across our yard like she owned it, barely looking at me as she stormed toward the lake where Jessica sat. I dropped my shears and followed, already sensing the confrontation brewing. "You there!" Karen shouted, pointing toward Jessica. "You can't fish here! This lake is HOA property and you're trespassing!" Jessica barely turned her head. "This is private land, owned by us. You might want to check your map again," Karen scoffed, pulling out her phone. "Don't get smart with me. I know the bylaws, and I'm calling the sheriff. Let's see what they say about an unregistered trespasser refusing to comply." Jessica remained calm, but I noticed the subtle shift, the way her shoulders squared, the slight adjustment of her stance. I knew that posture. I'd seen it before, right before a major bust. But she said nothing. Let the show begin. Within minutes, a deputy cruiser pulled up the gravel. 2 officers stepped out. Karen rushed over to them, her voice rising with every word. She pointed at Jessica, painted her as an intruder, a threat, a problem to be removed. "Ma'am," one officer said as he approached Jessica, "we got a call about a trespasser on HOA property. Can we see some ID?" Jessica slowly rose from her folding chair, calm as ever. She reached into her jacket pocket, pulled out a black leather wallet and flipped it open. "FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation." The officer blinked. Karen turned pale. The flip and the fallout. There was a pause. Long, awkward, and thick with tension. Karen's mouth hung slightly open, like her brain had hit a pothole it couldn't recover from. The badge gleamed in the sun, the words Federal Bureau of Investigation clear as crystal. The 2 deputies looked at each other, then back at Jessica. "Is there a problem here, officers?" Jessica asked. Her tone firm but polite, the kind of voice that meant business without raising it. Her years in the Bureau had trained her well. She could freeze a room with a glance. No, ma'am," one of the deputies finally said. "We weren't aware you were a federal agent. We were just responding to a call." Karen's voice cracked like dry wood. FBI? You expect me to believe that? This is a residential community. We don't allow fishing for outsiders, and I've never seen her at any HOA meeting." Jessica let out a soft, almost amused exhale. "Because I work out of DC and Houston, I don't attend local bake sales, Karen." The deputy turned toward Karen now. "Ma'am, the property lines clearly show this lake belongs to the Wilsons. We've verified that from previous incidents. You don't have jurisdiction here. The HOA doesn't either." Karen wasn't listening. She was spiraling. "This is an abuse of authority. You can't just flash some fake badge and—" Jessica raised an eyebrow and tapped her phone, playing back her body cam app. "Karen Wilford, HOA vice president," she said, calmly narrating. "Trespassed onto our land, verbally threatened me, falsely reported a crime, attempted to misuse law enforcement to remove a legal resident." Karen blinked in shock. "Wait, what are you doing?" "You can't record me." "Oh, but I can," Jessica said. "Texas is a one-party consent state. And more importantly, this is going into an official federal report. I've dealt with cartel informants more reasonable than you." I had to bite my lip to stop myself from laughing. The deputy leaned in toward Karen. "Ma'am, you need to leave this property immediately or we'll escort you out. Any further interference could result in a misdemeanor charge." Karen took a shaky step backward. She looked like someone had just pulled the rug out from under her HOA fantasy. She'd come to make a scene, but instead, she'd poked the wrong bear. Jessica turned to me, sunglasses still on, utterly unfazed. "You still want to grill those burgers?" "Absolutely," I grinned. with extra Karen repellent. But little did we know Karen wasn't done yet. She had one more trick up her sleeve, one that would turn the entire HOA against us. HOA strikes back. 2 days after the lakeside debacle, things got weirder. A typed letter was taped to our front gate, sealed with the official HOA logo and a ridiculous amount of passive aggressiveness. The header screamed, "Violation notice, unauthorized use of common property." Apparently, Karen had managed to convince the HOA board to convene an emergency meeting without us, claiming Jessica's intimidating presence was a security threat, and that our use of the lake was under review. They even accused us of weaponizing law enforcement to silence HOA officials. It was laughable, except they weren't joking. Jessica read the letter out loud, brow raised. "Wow, I've seen mobsters make more coherent legal arguments." I sighed. "They're trying to build a paper trail. Make it look like we're the problem." Jessica nodded, already in motion. "Good thing I know a few people in Washington." Within hours, she had forwarded the HOA's complaint to a friend in the Bureau's legal department, and within a day, an official inquiry had been opened into Karen's misuse of her position. But even that didn't slow Karen down. On Thursday evening, our mailbox was vandalized. On Friday, someone from the HOA placed a giant "Private Members Only" sign at the edge of our dock, nailed into one of our trees. And by Saturday morning, we had a drone hovering above our backyard. That's when Jessica lost her cool, and that's saying something. She pulled her phone, dialed a number from memory, and spoke 4 calm but lethal words. "Activate Operation Greylight locally." I stared. "What does that mean?" Jessica didn't look away from the sky. "It means I'm done playing defense." Within the hour, a black SUV rolled up to our driveway. Out stepped Agent Ramirez, one of Jessica's former field partners, and a tall, suited woman with a clipboard and mirrored glasses. The kind of presence that screams federal audit. Jessica met them at the porch. "Got the files?" she asked. "Everything from Karen's history," Ramirez said. "HOA abuse complaints, previous citations. An old restraining order from a previous neighborhood board member. Oh, and a tax lien." Jessica smiled. "Let's pay Karen a visit, professionally." Meanwhile, I got the grill going again. If there was going to be a neighborhood meltdown, I figured I might as well enjoy it with a burger in hand. But even I wasn't prepared for what happened when Jessica and the agents knocked on Karen's door. Let's just say she wasn't alone. The knock that ended it all. Karen's house sat at the end of the cul-de-sac, like a throne on a hill, complete with an HOA flag, fluttering proudly on a pole. Her SUV was in the driveway, right next to a golf cart plastered in HOA bumper stickers. Typical. Jessica, Agent Ramirez, and the Bureau's legal investigator approached the door, like they were serving a warrant, which technically wasn't far off. The Bureau had opened a formal investigation into misuse of local authority and harassment via HOA channels. It was rare, but Karen had checked every box. I watched from our truck down the street, sipping my coffee, heart beating faster than I'd like to admit. Karen opened the door in a floral robe, hair up in curlers. "What now?" The moment she saw Jessica and the federal IDs, she froze. Then a second pair of eyes peeked from behind her. A man in a sweat-stained HOA jacket, someone I'd never seen before. Ramirez raised an eyebrow. Jessica handed her a sealed envelope. "Karen Wilford, you are hereby served. Notice under Federal Code 241. Conspiracy against rights for repeated, documented abuse of administrative authority." Karen's mouth opened, but nothing came out. "You will also be subject to a forensic audit," the legal agent continued. "We've been made aware of irregularities in the HOA's finances and multiple complaints regarding your leadership over the past 5 years. Karen started trembling. This is harassment. You can't just do this. This is my neighborhood." Jessica took one step forward. "Actually, it's not. This community belongs to every resident and the law. And you broke both." The man behind Karen tried to slip away, but Ramirez stopped him. "You're Michael Wentz, correct? Treasurer of the HOA?" Ramirez asked. "We'd like to talk to you about the unaccounted landscaping funds from last quarter." Michael paled, then practically melted into the carpet. Karen suddenly shrieked, "I'm calling the news! The mayor!" "I know people," Jessica didn't flinch. So do I. At that point, 2 sheriff deputies, the same ones from before, arrived to assist with the official audit. I wish I could say Karen cooperated, but instead, she tried to slam the door shut. And that's when the agents walked in with a warrant. 15 minutes later, Karen was led out of her own home, robe, curlers and all, in handcuffs. This time, everyone in the neighborhood saw it. Phones were out. Cars slowed. One neighbor even clapped. By sunset, the HOA board had been dissolved for emergency restructuring. Jessica, somehow, had grilled burgers for the entire street by nightfall. Everyone came, even the sheriff. When I asked her how she stayed so calm through it all, she shrugged. "You don't need to yell," she said. "You just need to know where the real power sits."